Hi, boys and girls, and welcome to another story by Pastor Joe. I'm so glad that you tuned in. I love our time together here each week. Well, now listen, I want to tell you a story of something that's happened to me over the years. This happened many years ago in my life, okay? But first, I want to tell you a Bible verse that has been very special to me. We mentioned it a lot at church, off and on from time to time. It's found in the Bible book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. This is a very important verse for boys and girls to learn too. It's a little bit long. It's not really that long, but this is how it goes. It said, this is God speaking. He's speaking to all of his followers, all of his children, all of his people, okay? And he says this. He says, I know what I have planned for you, says the Lord. It says, I have good plans for you. I don't plan to hurt you. I plan to give you hope and a good future. Isn't that a great verse? I'm going to say it again. He says, I know what I have planned for you, says the Lord. I have good plans for you. I don't plan to hurt you. I plan to give you hope and a good future. That's what God says to everyone who allows themselves to be led by God, who gives their heart to Jesus, who studies about God, and who spends time in prayer with God, who says that they want Jesus to be their friends. God says, for you, I've got big plans, right? We're going to go great places together. And you know, other Bible verses pretty much explain that as we walk with God, as we have this Christian life, our life won't always look like God's taking care of us. We're going to have some struggles. Jesus said, in this world, you're going to have plenty of trouble, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. In other words, Jesus has a way out, right? There is another passage in Romans 2, 11 to 17 that tells all about that. But remember, that's the wrong verse. Anyway, no, it's 1 Corinthians 10:13, I think. Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, either way, God's got it all figured out. And if we give our lives to Him, if we spend time focusing on Him, if we get ourselves to Sabbath school and church, if we study and pray to Him during the week, God says, you, I can do something with. If you've given yourself to me, I can lead you and I can open doors for you that never would have been opened before. Okay? So that's the foundation. That's the main point I want to make today. But I want to tell you a story about something that happened to me that just shows, it goes to show you that God's always in charge of your life if you keep connected to Him, if you give your life to Him and always want to follow Him. Okay? Here's how it goes. I was a college student. I was about to graduate from college to become a pastor. And these were scary months because I wasn't sure I was going to even get to be, hired to be a pastor of a church. And I knew I had a long ways to go. But when I was close to graduating, they had in college, they had a kind of a course where we young pastoral students, we got to go out to a church that already had a pastor, and we would learn from that pastor. And he would teach us to do this and that, and how to visit people in their homes, and how to pray with people. He would teach us how to preach better. Even though we had classes in college for all of these things, it was good to go out into a church and practice it, right? And learn from someone who was already doing it right then. And so we became a student of a local pastor in a church. And he would give us a chance. The pastor would give, they called us extern pastors. We were just learning pastors. And the extern pastor would get a chance to preach a sermon once in a while. He would get a chance to do Bible studies with people once in a while. And he had to learn by doing all of these things that a pastor does. And he would have the help of a real pastor, right? So I got to go to a little church in the little town of Colton, California. And that's where I was sort of a student pastor, an extern pastor. while we were there, we had a special speaker come to our church, and he had a series of meetings, several meetings that talked about the Bible, and we invited everyone from the community to come to these meetings so they could learn more about Jesus, learn more about what the Bible teaches about this and that, and about how we should live our lives and what's true about the Bible and things like that. And so we had these meetings where people would come. Well, at the meetings, it was more special to have more than just the preacher get up and preach. He had someone come who had a lovely singing voice, and that man would lead everyone in songs, sort of like we do at church, and he would sing a special song. Every night he had a special music that he would sing himself. And that man's name was Shannon Goodwin. He was a wonderful man. He brought his family with him, and they all spent several weeks at our church, because every night, almost every night, every week, we had a new meeting. He would sing. Oh, and you know I love music, and so I would listen to him, and oh, I loved his voice. And he had such wonderful songs and messages in the songs that really they touched my heart. And there was one song that was called "Welcome Home, Children." And he sang that. I'd never heard that song before. And I loved it. I loved it so much that I asked if he would teach it to me, if I could get the words from him to that song. And I could listen to him sing it again. And so that I could learn it, and maybe I could sing it sometime. And I did. I got to learn that song from Shannon Goodwin. It was a beautiful song. Welcome Home, Children, the whole idea of the song is it's like when God is up in heaven, and Jesus has already now come and gotten all of his people from the earth, and we go to heaven together with Jesus. That's the promise, that we're going to one day get to go to heaven with Jesus. And we get to heaven, and God sees us for the first time when he always sees us, you know what I mean? But we're together personally for the first time. And God says to us, "Welcome home, children. This is the place I prepared for you." Right? And it's a homecoming. It's a time when we get together. Finally, we're together in heaven with God. And that's going to be a special time. And that's what this song is about. Welcome home, children. Well, I loved learning that song. And I sang it from time to time in various different little churches, wherever I ended up. When I finally became a pastor, I got hired to be a pastor, and I was pastoring at different churches. Now, I knew that God was in charge of my life, because I didn't think that I should even be hired as a pastor. There were other students in my class that knew a lot more than I did about the Bible and about how to be a pastor. I thought they were smarter than I was, and they didn't get hired. But I did. So I knew that God really wanted me to be a pastor. Somehow these other guys who I thought were more qualified, God had other plans for them, and they went on to do other things, but they didn't get hired to be a pastor like I did. So I knew God was in charge of my life. Remember that verse where it says, "I know what I have planned for you. I have good plans for you." Remember how God said that? And so I knew God was taking care of me, and he was leading me wherever I should go. And I would sing that song for special music, or I'd do a concert here and there, and I would sing that song. It's a beautiful song. Well, anyway, so the day came when we had a new conference president come and move to our conference. Our old president, the one who had hired me, he eventually went on to be a president of the union. Anyway, it's a different thing that he went on to do. So we needed a new conference president. And the new conference president came, and he had an idea. His idea, he said to all the ministers in our conference, that's just a territory, a region where a lot of churches are. Like in our conference is called the Upper Columbia Conference, right? And that's a region. It's the right half of Washington, the top half of Idaho, and the top right corner of Oregon. And that whole area, the Columbia River goes through a lot of it, and so it's called Upper Columbia Conference. And that's just an area full of churches, right? Well, this conference I was in was a Southeastern California conference, and there were 100 and something churches in that conference alone. And so the new president of the conference had us all together at some big pastor meetings, and he said, I've got a great idea. I want to have a minister's choir, or chorus, they call it, a minister's chorus, where all the ministers can come together. They'll come to the conference headquarters, the conference office, once a month. And we'll learn a bunch of songs that we can all sing together. And any one of you pastors who want to come, drive all the way to the conference office from wherever you are, I'll pay your gas. So they paid for us to drive to the conference office and to sing together. And we did, and I joined that group because I love to sing, right? And so I got in that group, and we learned some wonderful, wonderful quartet songs and big choirs songs. And one of the leader, one of the pastors, he was kind of a part-time pastor because he had pastored all his life, and he was getting pretty old now. And so he just pastored part-time. About half the time, and he helped out in the middle of nowhere at this little church that needed some help, and he was there. But he had been a great singer. He had been in very famous quartets, and he had been in charge of big singing groups. And so our conference president said, his name was Wayne, he said, Wayne, I want you to be the leader of our choir, of our ministers' chorus, he called it. And Wayne said, well, okay, I'd be happy to, because I love music too. He had one of these round voices, and it was a wonderful voice. And so he said, yes, I'll be the leader. And he was just a lovely man. And so we got together, and he put together some music with his nephew, Mick, and anyway, who was also a pastor. And we just had a great time singing together. We got so good that the president had a new idea. He said, I think we should take it on the road. That's a term that they use when he meant we should do some concerts. We should have our ministers' chorus go to one big church in this part of the conference and have a concert and sing to all the people and have all the people from all the churches in that area come and hear us sing. And then we'll go to another section of the conference and have all those people come and hear us sing. And we'll go to that one and we'll go to that one. There were 4 main sections of the conference. And he thought, we should do some concerts, and then it'll be better for everybody to enjoy this music and not just us. We said, that sounds great. And one of the songs that they decided they wanted to sing was called Welcome Home Children. And I thought to myself, I know that song. There's a solo part in that song. Boy, I'd like to sing that song. And so I waited to see if they would ask me, but they didn't ask me. They asked another guy. His name was Keith, and he was pastoring a church, and he used to sing a lot, and he wrote his own music, and he was a very talented singer and musician, and he had recorded songs with his dad, Phil. And so they said, Keith, how would you like to do the solo on this song? Keith said, well, I don't know the song very well, but sure. Well, I kept my mouth shut because Keith was very, very capable of doing the song himself. But I was thinking, boy, I wish I could sing this song because I love this song. Welcome Home Children. It's a beautiful song. Well, Keith learned the song, and he did pretty well at it. But Keith had a problem. He was a very, very busy pastor, and he didn't always make it to our practices when we all got together. And so we didn't always get to sing the song with him. And finally, he told the president, or he told Wayne, the director of our group, he said, Wayne, maybe you better get someone else to sing this song because I can't get to the practices often enough. Maybe you should get someone else to do it. And Wayne said to the group, does anyone else know the solo part to this song? And I said, well, I do. I've sung this a lot. And They said, Joe, you're on. It's your turn to sing it. And I sang it, and we loved it. And I had this big choir singing with me and behind me. And I would take the solo parts, and then this choir would come in behind me. It was a beautiful, beautiful song. Someday maybe I'll sing it at church and you'll get to hear it. Anyway, so that was fun, and we went to the different parts of the conference, and we did concerts, and I got to sing Welcome Home Children. Oh, it was so wonderful. And I knew that God was taking care of me because music makes me happy. And when I get to sing music, it makes me even happier. And so that was fun. Finally, after we had done all of these concerts, the president, his name was Steve, Pastor Steve said, I've got a new idea. He always had great ideas. He was a fun president to work with. He said, guys, I've got a new idea. And we said, what do you want to do now? He said, I want all of us, there were about 30 of us, I want all of us to fly across the world to the country of the Philippines. Have you heard of the Philippines? Maybe you have. It's a country way over, if you went as far as Japan and then went south, you'd find the Philippines. It's an island nation, several islands there in the Philippines. And he said, we should go out there. And he said, let me tell you what they're doing. They don't have enough pastors in the Philippines, but they're doing a lot of Bible studies. People are learning about Jesus, but they don't have any pastors to baptize all of these people, to baptize them into Jesus, into a relationship with Jesus. They need pastors to come out there and baptize these people. Right now, they're all studying the Bible, and they just need pastors to come and help them baptize all of these people. And so why don't we do this? President Steve said. He said, why don't we all fly out there, and then we'll do some concerts just like we did here. We'll do a concert in the upper section of the country, in the lower section, in that side and that side of the country. We'll do big concerts, and all the people will come and hear us. But then we'll all split up. We'll go everywhere throughout the country, and we'll baptize all of these people. They had 10,000 people that they were preparing for baptism as they studied their Bibles. We were going to have to baptize 10,000 people. Can you imagine that? And so he made all the arrangements, and the people in the Philippines, the church out there, that they paid for part of the trip, and we paid for part of the trip. Our conference paid for part of the trip, and we put all of the money together, and we were able to go out there and do that. It was wonderful, and so we went to all of these areas of that country in the Philippines, and we got to sing, and I got to sing that song, Welcome Home Children. And I enjoyed watching our director lead the group as he listened to me sing that song, and he just beamed, not because I was so good, but because it was a beautiful song. And I remember how Wayne just loved to hear that song sung, and our group was just so good. Anyway, so that was very enjoyable, and then we went out into the far parts of the country of the Philippines, and we baptized many people. Now somehow this is just an extra point, somehow they had a bunch of pastors show up before we showed up, and it just so happened that they baptized most of the people before we got there. But we still went out and we did meetings, we had lectures and seminars, and we were able to baptize even more people. And so that was a really great experience. And I said to myself, I said to the Lord, Lord, thank you for taking care of me. I see now that you have always had a plan for me and all of my pastor friends and all of the people that we've met with who wanted to learn more about you and be blessed by this beautiful music. And thank you. Thank you for letting me be part of your plan for me. Thank you for using me the way you have. Well, finally, after 3 weeks out there in the Philippines, we all got to come home. And we really missed our homes. And when we got there, we were so happy. I remember I got off the plane and I knelt on the ground and kissed the ground. It was like the street. It was like asphalt. And I kissed it because I missed America so much. And I enjoyed my time in the Philippines, but it's not like America. And so I was really happy to be home. Well, it was only several months later that Wayne's family, remember Wayne was the director of our group. Wayne was getting old, and his family decided to have a big family get-together, I think, was it a Christmas get-together? I can't remember, but they all got together, and they met at where a big motel was, a hotel, and they all got hotel rooms, Wayne's family. It was just a family get-together. And they would have fun during the day, and then they would each stay in their family's hotel room at night. And before bedtime one night, all of Wayne's grandchildren came to his hotel room, and they came in there and they sat on the bed, and Wayne told them a story, and they sang together and they prayed together. And Wayne said to all of his grandkids, "I love you all so much. It's so good to be together with my family." And he prayed with them, and they all went to their hotel rooms and they went to sleep. The next morning, Pastor Wayne had passed away in his bed. He had just fallen asleep. He had passed away. Oh, that was a sad day for the family, but we all get old and eventually we pass away. Well, the word went out to all of the other pastors, all of us who had sung with Wayne and who Wayne had directed our ministers' chorus. And we were all so sad. And the word got out to all of us that they wanted to have a big celebration service to celebrate Wayne's life. And we all loved him so much. And they said, we're all going to meet at the Corona Church. That was the name of the town where the church was. And we're going to meet at the Corona Church and have a big funeral. It was a funeral. It was a celebration of Wayne's life. And we were all going to be together, and we're going to sing some songs to remember Wayne, some songs that were very special to Wayne. And do you know what song one of the songs was? Welcome Home, Children. He loved that song so much. And they called me up and they said, Joe, would you sing that song for us, the solo part? And I said, yes, if all the other guys will sing. And they said, yes. So at that funeral, I sang that song. Now remember, I told you that Wayne, throughout his life, he had sung in very famous quartets, and he had been in charge of big singing groups. And a lot of the Seventh-day Adventist television programs and radio programs, and a lot of the famous, I don't want to say famous, but very higher up people, people who run TV programs like It Is Written and Voice of Prophecy and Faith for Today and Breath of Life, and a lot of these, they all knew Wayne because he had been very involved in music. They all came to the funeral for Wayne, and they heard us sing that song. And there were other songs, but they heard us sing that song. One of these ministries that does evangelism, that tells people about Jesus all around the world, was called the Quiet Hour. That was the name of their ministry, and they were usually on the radio. And I can't remember if they had any television programs, but anyway, they were around the world. Their radio program was heard around the world, and and the director of the Quiet Hour of that ministry was at Wayne's funeral. A couple of weeks later, I got a phone call. I was back at home down in San Diego. I was pastoring a little church there. And I got a phone call. And on the phone, the man said, "Hi, Joe. My name is Bill Tucker. I'm from the Quiet Hour." And he was the son of the man who had gone to this funeral, who was the speaker of the Quiet Hour, who went around the world and preached the gospel to people around the world. And Bill was in charge. He was the manager of the radio program. And he said, "How would you like to go to across the world, almost to the bottom of the world, to the little island of Fiji?" It's a country, the country of Fiji, and we're going to do some evangelistic programs and meetings down there to 5,000 people. And we're going to sing, and we're going to preach, and we're going to do all kinds of things. Tell them about how to live better, how to take care of their bodies. We're going to do all of this. The Quiet Hour is going down to Fiji. And we need someone who sings. And we heard you sing at Wayne's funeral. And we would like you to come. We'll pay for everything if you will come with us and go down to the island of Fiji. And I said, let me think about that. I talked to my wife, and my wife said, you better go. I think the Lord has a big plan for you to go down to the island of Fiji. And so I called Bill back and I said, Bill, I'm in. I guess I'll go. And in no time at all, I got to get on the airplane and I flew all the way down to Fiji. And I got to sing every night and during the day too with all of the people at Fiji. And they had a choir and we sang big choir songs, and I got to sing solos, and we had a real professional piano player there. His name was Bobby Silverman. And we did a lot of work, and we visited with the people and told them more about Jesus. And we were able to baptize many, many people. In fact, we baptized 500 people off the shore of Fiji. Wow, what an experience. All because I first learned that one song, Welcome Home Children, the song that tells us that God is looking forward to welcoming us to heaven one day. Oh, the Lord uses us in the strangest ways, and He usually starts at just a little tiny thing, and He'll take us all the way through. And ever since then, when I was down in Fiji, I came back. I have served at several different churches, this church too, and I've sung that song at funerals. Oh, dozens and dozens of times at funerals, because it gives us hope. Like Jesus said, or like the Lord said, He said, I don't plan to hurt you. I plan to give you hope and a good future. And so that song gives hope. And that was God's plan for me, was to use me to give people hope. God has a plan for you too. And you may not know just how He's going to make that plan work out, but God's doing it right now. Little things that happen in your life, as long as you follow Him, as long as you ask Him to guide you, as long as you give your life over to Him and say, Lord, I will obey whatever you ask me to do. Help me to understand what you want me to do in my life. Help me to follow you and to honor you in the decisions that I make. And when you do that, God promises He's not going to hurt you. He's not here to hurt you. He's here to give you hope and a good future. He says, I have good plans for you, right? All right, so remember, stay close to God, because He will use you in the most amazing ways that you could never even imagine. That's our story. Let's close with prayer. Lord in heaven, thank you so much for using us, for promising us that you have good plans for us. Help us to stay close to you, and we trust you with our lives. Use us the way you want to, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.